in the near term, it's going to be hard for the stock to significantly outperform till this Twitter black cloud ultimately clears. Yeah, but this would be like Cook being in the Galapagos Islands while Apple is going through a supply chain issue in China. So that's part of the problem is that Tesla needs Musk more than it ever has. It's a very significant period in the next 6 to 9 months.
In this video, as Elon Musk, Tesla stock and Twitter continue to tango, some more experts weigh in explaining that Tesla needs Elon Musk now more than ever. So I definitely won't mention production hell, the issues with the original Roadster, or any of the other points throughout Tesla's almost 2-decade history in which they definitely needed Elon Musk a lot more than they currently do. Dan Ives has some thoughts, and I have some thoughts about Dan Ives, including on the recent crypto implosion and where to from here for Tesla stock. By the way guys, a quick heads up, on the 20th of November, this channel has its 3rd birthday. Time flies when you're having fun. And to celebrate, I'm finally going to stop telling you motherfuckers to hurry up and join Patreon. Why? Because the deed will be done. And why have I been so aggressively encouraging everybody to join Patreon now or regret it for the rest of their lives? Well, hashtag inflation. Yeah, that's right. The entry-level price to join Patreon will be going up significantly on the 20th of November. It's out in the open now. Price hike. Now, obviously, this doesn't affect existing Patreon members, and that's why I'm banging the drum. If you want to get in now and lock in that cheaper pricing, now's the time, because on the 20th of November, the price is going up permanently. Just giving you guys fair warning. You got about a week left, and don't worry, it's still going to be exceptional value even after the price hike. Just like Tesla is literally the bargain of the century right now, in my opinion. I think my Patreon page until the price hikes is also the bargain of the century, maybe even the millennium. So unless you want to join in a few weeks and wallow in regret knowing you could have been paying a lot less, you can join Patreon now with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment. Posted another 2 exclusive videos to Patreon today, continuing to climb up the global ranks. This page is punching far above its weight, and it's all thanks to you guys and girls, so I appreciate the support.
Tesla bulls are taking their foot off the gas for the car company's stock after Elon Musk sold a large block of his equity while he looks to radically change Twitter.
Tesla bulls? No. Tesla chickens, maybe. What the f*** is this guy talking about? I bought 307 shares of Tesla stock in the last couple of days. Bargain of the century. Man of my word, I don't just say this shit because it sounds cool. I say it because I mean it and believe it. Hence, my actions speak louder than my words. I've been buying with every spare cent. I've been explaining I think this is the best risk-adjusted opportunity in the stock market, and my actions back that up. I think what he means to say is some Wall Street stock analysts who have bullish price targets on Tesla stock are getting caught up in the noise. The short-term and entirely irrelevant noise.
Wedbush analyst Dan Ives taking a hard stance on Musk's move, saying Tesla is in a purely painful, dark situation and that Musk has managed to do what bears have tried for years, cutting his price target to $250. Wedbush analyst Dan Ives joins us now. Dan, you've had enough.
Look, I mean, I think the clock struck midnight on the frustration, and it's gotten to a point where Musk needs to look in the mirror and ultimately now refocus back on Tesla. And I think for Twitter, it's really been using Tesla as an ATM machine. And the PR antic, our worry is that it hurts the brand. It hurts the brand of Tesla. Musk is the brand. And this has just been a circus show that in almost a torturous way just continues to get worse.
Dan, we got to change that profile pic on your Twitter account. We need one of me and you, a former analyst to current analyst making big calls on Tesla here. Let's do it. What would get you to go back and upgrade the stock?
Look, I mean, we still have a buy rating, $250 price target. But the reason we took it off top pick list, because in the near term, it's going to be hard for the stock to significantly outperform till this Twitter black cloud ultimately clears.
Interesting comments. As I speculated yesterday, it appears that Dan Ives' price target is based on stock market sentiment rather than company fundamentals, which is a little bit of a problem. Now, don't get me wrong here. I actually agree with his points here. Until this Twitter overhang, the drama, oh my god, Elon might sell more stock. Until that goes away, Tesla stock could continue to go absolutely fucking nowhere or down. But he has now got a 12-month price target of $250 per share, not because anything fundamental about Tesla's business has changed, but because he believes the stock market perception around Tesla stock is going to be down in the dumps until the Twitter overhang clears. Now, again, fair point, but this is not a price target. This is an intuitive guess that is not based on fundamentals, that doesn't come out of a valuation model, and makes absolutely no fucking sense. Now, it's time to fire up our cognitive faculties here and do a little bit of thinking. If it's true, if Dan Ives genuinely believes that the Twitter overhang is artificially suppressing Tesla stock, which he seems to believe, the Twitter noise, the drama, the distraction, lowering the price target, if he truly believes this, he's effectively admitting that Tesla stock is currently down not because of fundamentals relating to the company's execution or their earnings, but instead due to irrelevant noise. And if that's true, should Dan Ives not be identifying this as a huge opportunity? If Tesla stock was actually worth what it's currently at, if Tesla stock was overvalued, then these comments might make a bit more sense. But if what he's saying is true, if we think through this logically, it seems like this is a temporary opportunity to buy Tesla at an artificial discount that doesn't make sense. Isn't this a really good thing for investors? They've got a huge buying opportunity. Tesla stock's on a massive sale that clearly isn't at all connected to reality. I feel like he's got things a bit backwards. Why is he not talking about forward PE multiples? Why is he not talking about earnings power, 2023 EPS, production, deliveries, growth, their competitive advantage? Like, you guys understand, this just doesn't make sense. The key words there we heard from Ives is over the short term, which again, I don't believe to be investing, but gambling. And it's hilarious to see at this point in time so many people getting caught up in the noise. Everyone's just completely forgotten Tesla's dominant position, their technological advantages, their data advantage in terms of autonomy, their manufacturing advantages, their insane profit margins, their crazy wait times, their rapid expansion globally, the new technologies, 4680 cells, the product roadmap. I mean, just about everybody, who, at least in the media, has forgotten everything Tesla's done. What's that noise I hear? Oh, something Twitter? Oh yeah, okay, cool. Well, that makes everything else that Tesla's done completely irrelevant. In fact, it trumps it all. Yeah, Tesla's execution doesn't matter. Industry-leading margins doesn't matter. No. I can hear noise about Twitter. Therefore, reducing my Tesla stock price target because Twitter noise.
In what's still, a jittery environment for risk on, and I believe that, Tesla's still on pace for a very strong Q4, and obviously the long-term bull thesis is unchanged as we look at the next year or two.
I mean, he said it. The long-term thesis remains unchanged, although, interestingly, Dan Ives talking about long-term and then referring to 1 or 2 years into the future. I guess we define long-term slightly differently. There's an order of magnitude or more difference between what we think of as long-term.
But look, this has gotten to a tipping point, and I think it's really a moment of truth for Musk to now refocus back on the golden child, Tesla, because Twitter, it's essentially the Tom Hanks money pit movie, and that's part of the problem.
Dan, I don't know if you heard, we just had our senior auto correspondent, Praz Subramanian, on talking about the really good quarter from Polestar. Are we at that point where the likes of Polestar, Lucid are finally taking market share away from this company? We've been hearing about that argument for 4 years, but it seems like that moment is now.
In fairness, Polestar actually doing relatively well. Last year, full year globally, I believe, around 42,000 vehicles sold. Decent. Not even close to Tesla, but Lucid, on the other hand, I mean, come on, bro. At best, they're going to deliver 7,000 vehicles this year. Tesla delivering approximately 200 times as many vehicles. In other words, Lucid's deliveries this year, less than 0.5% those of Tesla's. I mean, I guess if you really want to be technical, maybe they are taking some market share away from Tesla. A few Lucid Air buyers may have opted for a Model S Plaid prior to the Lucid being available. But the numbers even from Polestar, doing many tens of thousands of vehicles in a year, are still a speck compared to Tesla's volumes. And then there's the whole entire EV market growing, so no one's taken any market share away from anyone, except ICE vehicle manufacturers, that is.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a market share. I think what's happening is there is significant ramp up in EV buying behavior, especially in the U.S. You'll get Polestar, I think they're going to have clear success, and it's a rising tide lifting a lot of boats. I think what you're starting to see, especially in the U.S., 2.5% of autos are EVs. You go to China, it's 12, 13%. There's a massive ramp here in the U.S. I think, and again, the 313 area code is going to be benefiting significantly in terms of what GM and Ford. And I think those are significant years ahead for what I view as renaissance stories.
Dan, when you think about not just the competitive environment, but how Tesla is operating itself right now, even with the attention that Elon Musk is giving to Twitter at this point in time, is it a good scenario for Tesla to be able to kind of just focus without having Elon Musk kind of breathe down the necks of people over at Tesla? Or is that a net beneficiary to the brand in Tesla when you do have Elon Musk that is on the factory floor, that's in people's faces and making sure that he's also visible throughout the entire production experience?
Yeah, but this would be like Cook being in the Galapagos Islands while Apple is going through a supply chain issue in China. So that's part of the problem, is that Tesla needs Musk more than it ever has. It's a very significant period in the next 6 to 9 months.
Tesla needs Elon Musk more than it ever has in the next 6 to 9 months. Now, everyone is entitled to their opinion, and here's mine. Dan Ives has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. That is an embarrassing comment. On what planet? Dan, bro, what? More than it ever has? Now, don't take it personally, Elon, but Tesla doesn't need you anymore. Certainly, it's nice to have you. But Tesla has evolved from a newborn, which could have died at any moment, if not tended to constantly. It has since grown into a toddler, then into a child, and is now approaching its adulthood. Tesla, the company, is fast approaching its 20th birthday. It's now reached a level of maturity where, sure, things can still go wrong, but everything's humming along beautifully. Tesla has category-killing vehicle models, the Model Y of which will eventually sell multiple millions of units per year alone. All Tesla need to do now is just make more of them. Hello? And given the fact that Tesla's now successfully ramped up multiple factories on multiple continents, producing this very vehicle, I don't think Elon is as necessary and as critical to Tesla's continued execution in the next 6 to 9 months as Ive seems to think. Don't get me wrong, Elon's awesome, and without him, Tesla moves slower, but they have an incredible product roadmap. The FSD flywheel is doing its thing. 4680 ramp continues to go smoothly. Their lead in terms of autonomy is unassailable. They've done enormous innovation in manufacturing. No one is even close in terms of price, performance, features, functionality. It's like Dan is living in an alternate dimension in which everything is the opposite of what it actually is. In the next 6 to 9 months, Elon Musk's involvement in Tesla is less critical than it has ever been in the company's history, not more critical. What is he talking about? I actually don't know what planet this guy's on. Can someone explain what he was thinking? If he was thinking? Oh, he probably wasn't thinking. Don't worry about it. And I mean, literally, don't worry about it, because obviously he wasn't thinking, because if he were, he would have thought, oh, hang on a minute. Remember that whole production hell where the Model 3 ramp risked the bankruptcy of the entire company and Elon sleeping on the factory floor? That was probably a point in time where Tesla needed Elon more than they do today. But obviously he didn't think, therefore he said what he said. Come on, Dan.
And the issue is that the antics we've seen on Twitter, and you've seen it from an advertising perspective, it's a brand destruction. That's the biggest problem. And, ultimately Musk is the brand of Tesla. And that's why it was one thing in terms of selling stock, but now it's started to bleed over. And that's why, for us, it was kind of enough is enough to sort of come out there and make a statement, because in my opinion, it's impacted the stock.
Okay, so something else that's impacted the stock as well is where Tesla has also taken on different holdings. And we're going to kind of go broad with this in a second, but Tesla still has how much Bitcoin on its balance sheet? And how does that impact the company in the near term too?
Yeah, they've taken down a lot of that. In other words, like if you look in terms of some of the write-downs, that's pretty minimal today. Now, obviously, look, it started off as a bigger bet in terms of where it was going to go, and that ended up being a positive, that they didn't go all in.
Now, controversial opinion, but I actually believe that even if Tesla had taken a 100% loss on their Bitcoin investment, it would actually have paid for itself many times over. What do I mean? All the crypto nerds globally hear Tesla is now buying Bitcoin. They're also potentially accepting Bitcoin payments. Think about all the crypto nerds who'd never really considered a Tesla who thought, oh, that's pretty cool. Tesla bought Bitcoin. I'm going to buy a Tesla. Now I know not everybody thinks like this. There's a lot of people that are very bullish on Bitcoin. Remember, what did the sailor say? Mortgage your house, buy Bitcoin. This is investment advice. I'm sure those comments are going to age very well. And don't get me wrong, I actually am bullish on Bitcoin over the long term. Of course, caveat there, huge risk. It could go to zero. Like literally that is a possibility. But I'm bullish on the crypto space overall. But I've always said it's going to be extremely volatile for years to come. But the point that I'm making here is the discussion around Tesla's Bitcoin purchase alone drew enough attention to the company that I personally believe it will more than have paid for itself. But as Dan points out, Tesla's current Bitcoin holdings approximately fuck all.
But I think for Twitter, for Tesla, that's less of an issue here in terms of any sort of contingent or relative to what that does to their balance sheet.
Dan, I know you cover a lot of stuff, and we always talk to you about big cap tech names. Just what do you think about what has happened this week in cryptocurrencies? This is something not a lot of, I would say, investors have seen before, and frankly, a lot of analysts haven't seen this before either.
But it's a black swan event, right? And in other words, I think like anything, this is it's a cautionary tale for what you see in sectors, and and unfortunately, many will feel the pain. I do think what's important is that the contagion, the quote unquote systematic risk, is not bleeding into the overall financial system, and I think that's very important because that's always been a broader fear here. But look, it's some very, very dark days in terms of some of these very, very unfortunate things that we're seeing there with FTX.
It's been interesting to watch the implosion of the crypto space. I mean, it has been absolutely catastrophic. Companies dropping left, right, and center. The big knock-on effect, this company goes down, this company's in the shit as well. It's an absolute tangled web, an extremely volatile and early disruptive space. Reminds me, for those who don't know, I actually purchased Bitcoin initially back in 2013 and 14, back in the Wild West days. So wild, in fact, that I kind of expected that I'd probably get hacked or lose everything or something would go wrong or Bitcoin would go down to zero. And well, turns out I'm actually just a moron because I actually got scammed in a gigantic Ponzi scheme. Well, that was part of the reason I lost some Bitcoin. I also held Bitcoin on 2 independent exchanges as well, one of which got hacked and one of which turned out to be a gigantic scam. Apparently the guy behind the company just stopped allowing people to withdraw Bitcoin and disappeared. Still yet to be caught. If I had to guess, this probably won't be the last time we see the hit the fan in the crypto space. It's always interesting to observe. For those who don't know, I own a tiny bit of crypto, and I mean like less than 0.1% of my entire net worth. Might even be 0.01%, but it's been very interesting to watch. And as I said, I'm still actually very bullish on crypto over the long term.
Wedbush did it now. It's good to see you. In your note today, you said, quote, Musk has managed to do what the bears have unsuccessfully tried for years, crush Tesla's stock by his own doing in what we view as a purely painful, dark situation. Is this situation irreparably damaged?
Talk about an absurdly, overly dramatic leading question. Is this situation irreparably damaged? Who else other than CNBS to ask such a question? It's irreparable, that's it. Done and dusted, game over. Tesla's going bankrupt, Twitter's going bankrupt, Elon's an idiot, and he should have just stayed in his lane.
Well, Scott, that's our concern. I think we're starting to get into brand issues here for Tesla because of this black eye from Musk and the train wreck situation with Twitter that many thought would have ended when ultimately the deal went on. It's actually gotten worse. And I think that besides just the selling of stock, really almost viewing Tesla like his own ATM, this, in my opinion, has really caused what's a disastrous situation. That's why we took it off the best ideas list.
I understand. I mean, but taking it just off of a best ideas list, but reiterating it at outperform, man, I don't know. That feels kind of lame. I mean, if you feel the way you do, why wouldn't you downgrade it? What statement are you really making by simply taking it off a best ideas list, Dan?
Wow, what a penetrating question you have for us, Scott. I can explain. It's quite easy. It's part of our marketing strategy to stay in news. We still believe it's Tesla's world and everyone else is paying rent. Hashtag green tidal wave. But in order for us to stay relevant and continue to sell our research, we need to be in the mainstream media. Therefore, price target down because noise. In a few months' time, when there's no more noise, price target back up because the noise went away and we get another appearance on CNBS. A win-win.
Yeah, it's a fair point, Scott. For me, it's the long-term story. The story over the next 12 months continues to be there for Tesla in terms of what I could believe in 2023 from an EV demand story, even in China, that we'll see a rebound. So the long-term thesis for Tesla remains bullish. Our concern in the near term, this next 3 to 6 months, it's a fork in the road situation. Because if Musk continues down this path, I think it's going to go down a dark, dark path, which I think there's brand deterioration that could happen with Tesla. Musk is the brand of Tesla.
I vehemently disagree with this. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of Tesla fanboys and fangirls who admire Elon Musk, who associate him with the brand, with Tesla's vehicles. There are many haters and detractors who also do the same thing. The vast majority of people buying Tesla vehicles, honestly, don't really have much of an opinion on Elon Musk. I've talked to a lot of them, and I don't mean people who watch the channel in this bubble. I see people driving a Tesla, parking, hey, what's up? Cool Tesla. How'd you get it? What do you think of Elon? Blah, blah, blah. Usually it's like, oh yeah, I mean, I don't really know much about him. I just really like the car. I know we live in a bubble and we think everybody associates Elon Musk directly with Tesla, but outside of this bubble, that isn't really true.
I mean, what would happen for you to downgrade it? What would you have to see?
Yeah, if we start to see in our checks a significant change in demand, not just in the U.S., but even international, because of some of the things going on, just the broader, economic slowdown. You combine that with what I believe a big part of the premium, the multiple, it's Musk.
Now, this is actually a fair, valid point. I've got to give credit where it's due. There is a Musk factor, a literal Musk multiple. And what I mean by this is most investors out there, and by investors, I mean investors, not basement dwellers, recognize that Elon adds an enormous amount of value. Gally over at Hyperchange has summed it up brilliantly. I don't want to butcher the words, this isn't a direct quote, but he's referred to owning Tesla stock as having a call option on Elon's future ideas. And this is an important piece of the puzzle. For example, were Elon Musk to leave Tesla tomorrow, I genuinely believe the stock would shed double-digit percentage in terms of value instantly just because he's gone. So this is actually a fair point. I literally have a Musk multiple in my own Tesla valuation model. Those who have access to the full valuation model on Patreon will know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, this declines over time. In fact, let me just ruin it for everybody right now. I have assigned a 2022 Musk multiple to my price targets of 1.1. What does this mean? I believe that Elon Musk's presence at Tesla today is accounting for at least 10% of the company's market cap. Now, Just to be clear, if he left tomorrow, I think the stock would collapse and rebound a little bit and probably be down at least 10%. I don't know for sure. But I have this Musk multiple progressively declining over time. Next year, it's 9%, then 8%, then 7.6. You guys get the point, right? By the end of the decade, there's no more Musk multiple. Why? Because he's less involved, less critically important to the company, and the stock market will recognize that. So credit where it's due, this is actually an important point from Dan Ives. It's one of those intangible things, but it is actually relevant to Tesla's stock price. And the reason it's relevant to Tesla's stock price is because with Elon, the future is even brighter than it otherwise would be. As I said earlier, Elon is no longer essential to Tesla, but it certainly helps having him around.
I mean, it's no different than the way Jobs and Cook, they understood they were the brand of Apple, and they still are. If we start to see a deterioration from a demand perspective for Tesla, then I believe that would be an ominous sign going forward. And my issue here is that Musk, from an attention perspective, from a PR perspective, it's black eyes after black eyes, and that's been a major issue on Tesla stock. And again, the selling of stock is the boy that cried wolf again and again.
Okay, so what happens if the Twitter situation deteriorates in some way? There's word right now, according to the New York Times, that he is holding a quote-unquote emergency all-staff meeting as we speak. There's also word of some more key departures from fairly critical areas of that business.
Yeah, look, I think Twitter, in all essence, is a money pit. And I think this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
On this, I absolutely agree. Not only is Twitter a shit-encrusted burning dumpster fire, but it will get worse before it gets better in terms of the cash bleed. No question. This is the literal definition of ripping the Band-Aid off. There's going to be blood everywhere for a period of time. But Elon is moving with an extreme sense of urgency. It's the price he must pay to get shit done and transform this steaming pile of excrement into something that adds enormous value and is self-sustaining, aka extremely profitable.
To that point, the fear is that does he have to sell more stock or get more outside funding, just given what's happening with Twitter? And that's our point. At this point, you need a separation where others ultimately are really focused on Twitter. He starts to focus more back on the Tesla story at a time that they need him more than ever, just given what happened in terms of the 3Q delivery number. And that's why
I just don't even know where to start. At least Dan has explained why Tesla needs Elon now more than ever. Ignore production hell, ignore the issues with the original, just ignore all the old stuff. Yeah, they definitely do need him more than ever. Why? Because of the Q3 delivery number, the record-breaking delivery number. This guy's such a mixed bag. He sometimes makes some brilliant points, has some great insights, and then he goes and says dumb shit like that.
It's a moment of truth for Musk in terms of how he handles it. But in our opinion, as a huge supporter of Tesla for many years and Musk, I mean, this has really gotten to a point where the albatross has really now started to significantly impact Tesla stock. And it's obviously a painful situation, I think, still ahead.
Okay. Definitely agree over the short term. There's probably going to be a lot more volatility around Tesla stock. People are uncertain. Big institutional investors are uncertain. Is Elon going to sell more stock? Is he distracted? Is he going to lose all his money trying to save Twitter and so on? So I'm not hating on Dan here. I think over the very short term, he's probably on point. But over the next 12 plus months, I don't think his $250 price target is going to age particularly well. But of course, I could be wrong. After all, I'm just some idiot on YouTube. What would I know? You hear that? The clock's ticking. It's time to join Patreon. Or you can join later and pay more. I mean, it's up to you. I'm just trying to give you fair warning. The relentless stream of new content continues to flow, well past 200 exclusive videos and counting, and my commitment and plan remains: add enormous value, grow. Pretty simple. Speaking of growth, a massive thank you to everybody who's joined in the last 24 hours. I can't believe it. The Patreon page has officially cracked the global top 100, and there's now well over 8,000 people supporting the channel. Look forward to seeing you over there. Join now with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment, or if you really want to, I mean, you can wait. I'll take the money. I mean, the price is going up. It's in my best interest if you join later. I'm just trying to help some of the tight asses out who really want a good deal. Now is definitely the time. Love ya.